Good evening and welcome to I Write. This is the second show. This is a light-hearted look at politics in general and Scottish politics in particular. Over the next half hour we'll be looking at what's happening currently and anything else that's caught our eye really that we've found quite funny. The show's hosted by myself, Graham Dallas, and by the one and only Mr. Shaun Moore.
Hi Graham, good evening, and thanks to Independence Live for letting us back on again. That was good, and thanks as well to the folk that have already been on the comments section and said hello. Looking forward to getting your input as well, everybody. Get some suggestions and feedback and punchlines from you all. What have you got, Graham? What have you got?
Right, okay, Shaun. So let's just kick in with our first clip and apologise for being a wee bit late. I, as usual, just mess things up, you know, it's just the way I am. Here's our first clip.
We're also coming down hard on people who provide false information on the passenger locator form. Anyone who lies on the passenger locator form and tries to conceal that they've been in a country on the red list in the 10 days before arrival here will face a prison sentence of up to 10 years.
What's your answer to that?
Well, my answer is, it's up to 10 years. It's a tariff. It's not necessarily how long somebody would go to prison for. But I do think it is serious if people put others in danger by deliberately misleading and saying that, you weren't in Brazil or South Africa or in one of the red list countries, which is, and because of that, we think it's appropriate that things like prison sentences for lying about being in one of those red list countries are appropriate.
Okay then, that was our first clip. This is a belter, this one, isn't it? This is a clip about turkeys voting for Christmas, this isn't it? This is the news that anyone who tells lies on a passenger locator form entering the UK could serve up to 10 years in prison. You know what I mean? Dodgy position for them to be taken. What do you think about that, Shaun? 10 years for telling...
The man that said it, the man that made the ruling, he's an absolute paragon of virtue, and he's never told a lie in his life, and that's true, isn't it, Grand Chaps?
I think you're referring to Mr. Sharps, who we saw in there defending it, or Mr. Green. It could have been Mr. Green, or Corinne Stockheath, who knows, or Sebastian Fox. He has been known to use a few aliases in his business life. Never used Grant Sharps. He was always somebody else. Do you know what he did, how he made his fortune, Shaun? Do you know how he did that?
How he made his fortune? He was a respected businessman, wasn't he? A captain of industry, like most of our Tory leaders are, right?
He was, yes. He had a wee
bringing jobs and fortune to the country.
He was, yes. He had a wee internet business, or a big internet business. And basically, what Mr. Sharps was doing was he was selling you a toolkit. That if you bought his toolkit for $497, you would make $20,000 in 20 days. Now that's good.
Sign me up, man.
Sign you up. Well, I'll tell you what you've got to do. You send away to Mr. Sharps and he sends you back this toolkit. What do you think would be in that toolkit, Shaun, to make you $20,000?
Magic beans. Snake oil.
No quite as expensive as that. Something you need to go, you're getting that's a wee bit too much, not enough profit in that. What he was actually selling was an ebook. You were getting an ebook. And what this ebook would do was it would tell you that you had to make your own toolkit up. You didn't get a toolkit. You had to make your own toolkit. And then what you did with that toolkit was you had to look for joint venture partners. You had to look for other people to buy tool books.
You're making that sound like a pyramid scheme there, Graham. It was more than that, was it not?
Mr. Sharps wouldn't have been into things like that. No, come on, pyramids. No, maybe a mountain. You climbed the mountain to success. Looks like a pyramid, but the mountain to success. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I'm just going to show you a picture of Mr. Sharps as when he was Mr. Green doing this business. Here's a wee...
We're also coming down hard on people who
provide... There he is. Now this is it. This is him even sticking it up his own party. He sent this out to all the party branches, and it was Eastleigh's strategy, how to win 40 seats from Labour, eliminating the Warsey problem, and handing it over to the old Etonians. And there's your CEO in the picture, Michael Green, and he's got 2 aircraft. How about that, Shaun?
Michael Green, who looks a bit like Grant Sharps, man. There you go. That's brilliant, though. So what he did was he sold this he sold this trick, this snake oil, to his own colleagues in the Tory party.
He did.
To win Labour seats, which they did.
He did.
So they were so pleased with him fleecing them and doing what a normal activist should be doing anyway.
Aye.
They rewarded them with the chairmanship of the party. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Exactly, but they probably looked at it.
That's real Toryism in action, isn't it?
Look, he's a smart lad. Yeah, he's just stuck it up he'll be able to stick it up with all the players.
Rob does. If he Rob does, he'll rob everybody. Get him in here.
Aye, but anyway, do you know what happened to Mr. Sharps's companies?
I think on that basis, maybe Queen's Award to Industry or a Nobel Prize for Philanthropy.
I don't think you would get Nobel Prize. The Queen's Award for Industry, I wouldn't be surprised at, but I don't know about that. But what he got for Google was a bit. They kicked all his sites off the internet, told him to get stuffed. And the police had a wee look into it as well, and they thought there was a case for fraud, but they wouldn't bother prosecuting anyway. They wouldn't waste their time prosecuting them. So that was Mr. Grant Sharps. But he also went on about, he mentioned being deceitful in there, and I thought that was quite apparent, because as a Conservative Party chairman and a member of Parliament, he failed to register these business interests in the Book of Members' Interests. For 3 years he publicly denied this when he was asked about it, until The Guardian uncovered this deceit. Now, I don't know what you call that, Shaun. I think there is a parliamentary term for that.
What's the word you used? Deceit and denial. That sounds a bit like lying, doesn't it? Lying.
That's the word. That's the parliamentary term for that. He's a lying little. Anyway, whether it's Mr. Green that was lying, Mr. Sharps, or Mr. Fox, or maybe it was Corinne. I don't know.
I really wanted to like the guy, because he's like, when I first heard about him and found out that he was a cousin of Mick Jones of the Clash. Not just any band, but the iconic left-wing punk band, He was a cousin of Mick Jones for the Clash. Then his brother, Sharps's brother, actually played with Jones's other band, BAD. I wanted to believe that this was one of the cuddly, nice Tories with a conscience, and maybe he is, because while we look at our progressive people, the SNP and the Greens, tearing each other to bits over self-identification and the GRA, this guy was already running about calling himself Corinne Stockheath years ago.
Yeah,
he's progressive, he's right on.
I can just imagine the family funerals and that, though, when Grant Sharps is sitting there, the 2 rock stars are behind him, giving it a slap in the back of his head, But anyway, Mr. Sharps, it was also uncovered when he first got into Parliament. He spent a lot of time in his parliamentary office upgrading his own Wikipedia profile, and also highlighting the faults in his colleagues to get himself up the ladder. True team player, this boy.
But I need to actually defend him here, Graham, because apparently it wasn't really him. It wasn't Grant Sharps that was doing that when he was typing away on the computer. It was somebody else altogether.
Mr.
Like,
Green.
Nothing to do with me. It might have been, but it's like, apparently in the kind of online terms, that's the official terminology for it, is a sock puppet. That you hide behind this other identity and do stuff.
Right. I need to get into that. That's where I'm going wrong in life.
So in his defence, mate, it wasn't me.
Well, Mr. Sharps is famous for recently stating that the UK couldn't follow Australia's quarantine rules and international arrivals, because the UK is an island and Australia's a continent. So there you go. But anyway, I think we've done enough.
That's the kind of knowledge. That's the kind of knowledge that fast tracks you to be transport minister, isn't it?
Aye, aye. So I'll have a wee look at the comments. Have we seen anybody get anything to say on this? Hi everybody, Lord. Jock Simpson says is he also Lord Looking. Pete Scally's in there with Michael Jackson. Karen Dallas says is he Shaun Moore? Oh, I don't know about that. Right. But anyway, that was Grant Sharp. So enough of him, eh? Let's move on to a mixed clip. We had Majid Nawaz, was it last week? A wee belter.
Oh, Majid, who said that he owned Scotland basically, and he would decide, the people in his country would decide what was good for Scotland, and if you, as a Scot, wanted to control your own destiny, you were nothing but a xenophobe.
Yes,
yeah,
that's a guy. Well, found another one. Here we go.
I mean, we're a country the size of a postage stamp. The idea that, England is a different country from Scotland or Scotland from England, it's utter nonsense, really, isn't it? It's one place. We're very, very small. We speak the same language, same head of state, same military, same money, same goodness knows what, more in common than we have differences. And here we are talking about a very expensive situation where we might divide the two. And when it comes to, does anybody seriously think when you hop over the border to England or to Scotland, whichever way you're coming, that something substantially changes? It doesn't. Your accent changes. That's about it.
But there will be people who are in support of it who will say it absolutely is the right way to go.
Yeah, but that's, I've always thought when people argue for that, it's not a philosophical, well thought through intellectual idea. It's just that it seems like a bit of a cool thing to do. Well, that's it, really. It's not borne out in any other reasoning than that. Some people want it because they like the idea.
Well, there you go. That was Ian Collins from Talk Radio. He's a wee bit of a bampot, that boy, is he not? Eh? He's a roaster. God. Yeah, the idea that...
Oregon.
How stupid are we to think we're a different country from England, Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. I liked the way he did the Majid thing as well, with using the big words, what was it he said? It's not a philosophical, well thought through, intellectual idea.
Yeah.
That's me. That had me.
Not philosophical or intellectual. Yeah. Like, say to folk anywhere the world over, name two famous Scots, intellectual and philosophical. They'll give you Adam Smith and David Hume, So there's a country that spawned these guys, and your population can't think for themselves. Yeah. And the other boy went, well, maybe somebody believes in it. Like over half of the population. Aye, but they're not even thinking. They're thick. They're not even thinking it through, man.
Aye, what was it he said? It seems like a cool thing to do. It's like independence for Scotland is a new must-have designer handbag, It's a fashionable thing of the day.
It's a phase. But those cheeky teenagers in Scotland, they'll just grow out of it. It's a wee rebellious phase they're going through. Just get them slapped and get them put back in their box. They'll grow out of it. I can understand the arrogance of Boris Pfeffel Johnston and Rees Mogg and all these characters, even the new socialist leader, Lord what's his name. I can totally understand those guys' arrogance, but this was just a hack. It's just a newspaper guy who's got a wee gig on that programme, and people put some gravitas on his words because he looks quite brainy. It looks like Richard Osman, the brainy guy for Pointless. So I will believe what it says.
The funny thing is, you never ever get somebody on there going like that. That's a great idea. That's a rich country up there. They'll do brilliant, I don't know how we'll go on without them, but you never get that.
What's happened and somebody's went cut, and that's it. They don't get invited back again, man. Don't get invited back. But I thought that's great. Just give that, because he looks like somebody quite brainy off the telly. He must know what he's talking about, and it's maybe something that subconsciously they're trying to kind of roll out to influence people.
I think so.
Michael Gove, he looks like a cross between Danger Mouse and Harry Potter, so he must be a good guy and a bit of a hero, eh?
Aye. And he's Scottish,
So he is, aye. As from last week.
He's
pure dead brilliant. Pure dead brilliant.
I've got Pete Scally here. He says he's going to put him in his wheelbarrow and and go to beachy he'd with him. There's a lot of differences across the board at NHS policing to start with. Well, yeah, that might be true. That might be true. But not as far as Ian's concerned. Yeah, we're all the same. We're all the
thing about
same.
your NHS and your policing, Ruth, that's choices that we've been able to make. I mean, this guy says, okay, your accent's different. You're not exactly different as a people. Of course, we're not. We're all human underneath. But the attitudes of those humans, and that's the thing. We've been able to decide to have a different policing and NHS up here. What else could we decide, man? What else?
Brilliant. Anyway, I think we've wasted enough time on the old Babcock Collins. I'm just going to take this away here. Aye, right. We've got our third clip here coming up, and this needs a wee bit of an introduction.
Think of somebody nice, eh?
I'll try. Well, we don't do nice people. Shaun, we're the nice people. We've got to put the Bampots on here. So
we can't slag off our own. We're not wings over Scotland. They're Bella Caledonia. We can't slag off our own.
Now, I get pelters because I put up last week that I was actually going to watch this programme. And I don't normally watch it. But when it's in Scotland, I always watch it because I always want to try and spot the plant. Can you think of what programme I was watching, Shaun?
That would be the unbiased, objective panel show from our unbiased, objective state broadcaster.
That would be exactly the one. The best broadcaster in the world. That was Question Time. Now, it wouldn't be Question Time, would it, if it didn't have a Ewan plant in there? And it's spotting the plant.
Ewan plant.
Well, yeah, I know they've normally got a few, but they've normally got the one that they just give the time to, and it's normally... It's normally somebody in the audience, but they know we've caught on to that now. So what actually happened here was they've actually put the Ewan plant in the panel. And what had happened, if you watch the intro where the clip comes in, it's during the introduction, but Fiona Bruce has already introduced 2 pro-Indie panellists and 2 pro-Unionist panellists. So
nice and balanced, eh?
So she's now going to introduce a 5th panelist, which
a guy in the middle.
That's exactly what you think. Somebody who's going to be kind of neutral, and this is a guy called Stephen Fitzpatrick, and she tells us all about the wonderful things that Stephen Fitzpatrick has done with his life, and he looks really a cool guy when he's sitting there. You know, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, this boy. But what she fails to let us know is that Stephen Fitzpatrick was the Tory party's 3rd highest donor in 2018. That slipped Fiona's mind. He gave them £173,000. And so the 4th thing you've got to say is he's obviously been sent up here to do the wee plant job. And watch his body language, you know, because he's looking over at the Jean Freeman, but he's looking at her to see a reaction. He's not really looking at her, he's kind of looking down. And he gives it the pose.
I do that when I'm talking to Jean Freeman as well. She's quite...
Right. But what he does is he tries to get his own side, and he says wonderful things about Scotland, and then he uses the word but, and then watch what he does. He does it twice. So anyway, let's watch a clip, and I'll let you see what I'm talking about here.
Welcome to Question Time. On tonight's panel, founder of the energy company in the UK, OVO, now the 3rd largest energy supplier in the UK, former owner of a Formula 1 racing team, currently working on flying taxis, Stephen Fitzpatrick.
I understand, as an entrepreneur and somebody who didn't want to report to somebody else, who didn't want to work for somebody else, I understand the urge to find independence. And actually, when I think of Scotland, I think of the potential of an independent Scottish nation. I have no doubt whatsoever that Scotland could be a thriving, independent economy with a proud history and an exciting future. But I have to say, you ask any entrepreneur what happens when you quit your job and you set off on your own. And anybody who tells you that it's going to be easier or better, you're going to be better off, that you're going to have even more independence, I can tell you, it's not true. As an entrepreneur, you sacrifice so much, you work twice as hard, they get half as much, you risk losing everything, and it takes a long time for that to pay off. And I say shorter term, and I genuinely, hand on heart, say, if Scotland decides they want to go for independence, I will be sad, but I will be actually supportive and optimistic and so on. But this is a decision that will affect this generation and future generation and children and people not even born for decades or hundreds of years.
So there you go, yeah, that's Mr. Stephen. First thing you've got to say about Stephen is, right, I mean, he looks good. And if your sister brought him home as a boyfriend, you'd be like, that's a good guy, I could go for a pint with him. He looks like he'd be alright. He's got
I live in Paisley. The first question would be, in relation to Tony?
Aye, well, you never know. He might be. Tony Fitzpatrick, was he from Northern Ireland?
I think Mr. Fitzpatrick would be for whatever the hell it suited his customers.
Aye. Maybe we should talk a wee bit about this beautiful guy. You know, he tells us that he has no doubt Scotland could be a thriving independent economy with a proud history and an exciting future. But, and then he goes on to tell us how dreadful it's going to be. And he tries to compare a country going independent to a wee guy in the barras starting up for the first time with nothing, alone, starting from scratch. He doesn't realise that this country's been here for thousands of years. It's a thriving economy already, do you know? And but I kind of think, what vision was he trying to paint? That we wake up on the morning of independence and go, all right, what are we going to do now? I suppose we better build some cities. Let's put Edinburgh over here and Aberdeen. What could we? We'll put Glasgow there and start to build, you know. No, the place is up, it's running, it's going well.
It's no Minecraft.
No, exactly, aye. But, you know, it's the way he was kind of sheepishly looking over and looking down. He was sent up to do a job, there's no doubt about that.
But there's still that businessman, that salesman there. He's he knows that there's so many, he's got so many 100,000 Scottish customers already to go mental on Twitter saying, oh, is that right? And we're moving to Eon or Scottish Power. So it was very, very grudging. Of course it would be fine. Right. And so no matter what way Indy goes, he'll be able to, you could throw that clip at him in a couple of years' time and he'll go, yeah, of course I told you could do it, you were a good country. I told you that. He's good, man. It's like his company's name, OVO. It goes both ways. No matter what way you look at it, it's... And like you say with the body language, I think that's what he was doing. Well,
what do we know about...
the Tory party, didn't he? So, you like bugs, you come up with fleas.
This struggling, at 43 years old, this struggling entrepreneur who was only making half of what he could have made was able to give the Tory party £173,000. But to be fair, it's not really a donation when you get to the Tory party, is it? It's an investment. Yeah.
The knighthood will not be long. It'll be on its way. He'll be sitting in a chair with Michelle Moan and that and Ruth Davidson next week. Careful what you wish for, Stevie boy.
He also had...
it was very tough. He was down to his last Formula 1 team, apparently, at one time.
In his 30s, he can afford the Formula 1 team.
For me, man, that is thinking all serious and heavy, that is the realities. Like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, like, it's on the Dragon's Den, love me, I'm a whiz kid. No, you're just like these Russian oligarchs. There was a state-owned utility with a big infrastructure that get stripped down and sold off, and you made a killing from it. And instead of buying a EPL football team, you bought a F1 racing team, boys' toys. And how do you continue to make your money? By sending wains out in shopping centres on no sale, no commission contracts to sign people up or else to get their brew money stopped. And putting 2,500 folk on the brew when you buy another company up like you did last year. Entrepreneur, he's a spin.
Well, funny thing, he's also a magician. I don't know if you knew that. He got, yeah, very good at it. Basically, what he did a couple of years back there was he sold £2.2 million worth of shares in his company. This struggling entrepreneur, he buy a new house for the family because he was expecting his second child. So like you do, you buy a £2.2 million house.
Date for a range, don't you, Graham? You date for a range. You go there in the morning, you put in a shift and get your horn stuck, you date for a range.
But he sold his shares to a company called Imagination Industries Limited. And I don't know if you know this, but this company is owned 100% by Stephen Fitzpatrick. So he gets £2 million off his company, buys a house and buys the shares at the same time. So, you know, somewhere along the line, something doesn't add up.
When it's moving money, oh man, you get millions.
I think
again, it's just the same as that other spiv we were talking about earlier on, Grant Sharps.
Aye.
But incidentally, Grant Sharps, for anybody that's tuning in, what gives your suggestions for what the V stood for? One of his pseudonyms was Grant V Sharps.
Right.
And a few kind of notions as to what that might be. But either way, I'm going to use his name nowadays as rhyming slang. Instead of saying I'm going for a Gladys Knight or a Forrest Gump, I'm going for a Grant Sharps. But aye, just like him, just another sock puppet. Like, setting up with somebody else, and there's the money. Thanks very much. Here's the money back. Thanks. There's the profit. I don't know how that works, but it works for them, man.
Well, here's another thing we know about Stephen Fitzpatrick. Got me on Grant Sharps there again. Martin Lewis tells us that Ofcom are investigating his company OVO for basically giving customers inaccurate information on how much electricity and gas they used. What's happening here is he's promising you great deals and people are signing up, and then they're basically finding that they're paying more for their electricity than they were for their previous company. So what you do in that case is your contract runs out, you move to another company. But a year after they moved to the other company, the OVO send them a letter to say that they had miscalculated their bills and that they owe them hundreds of pounds. So then these people have either got to go back and be able to prove that what their bills were and how much usage they had 2 years previous, or Mr. Sharps. I'm getting mixed up with these.
But even then, Graham, I mean, like, yeah, they've already made their money. The money's in the bank. It's getting interest, and it's only a proportion of people that will contest it and take it to the claims court or go to the regulator. But that system where they can say, "Oh, we made a mistake with our calculations. Sorry, like your mistake, your fault. I've got to pay." That system is there that lets this happen. These hucksters.
Well, and he's exploiting it to the full. But I tell you something, if he comes up to Scotland again, he's going to need one of those flying taxis to get himself back out of here, you know. Anyway.
Grant Sharps had a flying taxi.
Stephen Fitzpatrick is working on flying taxis at the moment. So there you go.
Oh, is that his new thing? Right.
That's his new thing. So that's all. I'll see if we've got any comments on that. Yeah, we got.
I thought you were actually talking about
they're all talking to each other.
Having his own aeroplanes.
Oh, aye, that's right. Aye, so he's got flying taxis. He's getting aeroplanes. Aye.
Own aeroplane, but he made sure that he registered it in America, even though this plane just buzzes about Britain and it's based in Britain.
Oh, right.
It's like Farage and his German passport, you know. Just smelled it while the wind was blowing.
I'm sorry if I've missed your comments, guys. I'm having a wee look here, but I'm not seeing anybody saying too much. You seem to be
apparently Scotland's getting its own launch pad, according to Jock.
Oh, there you go.
I've heard stuff about Freshwick, but maybe instead of where is a launch pad, it should be who are we going to launch first, because like the Soviet Union used to send up like and a dog and the odd monkey and things like that into space to see how it went. So I think we should maybe Jackie Bailey. No, anybody decides with Jackie Bailey who you want to send up into space first as a wee Jackie Bailey is a wee experiment.
That would be some size of a rocket to get her up there, man. But anyway, that's all we've got time for you tonight. So I do hope you enjoyed the show. Although looking at the comments, you seem to be talking to each other there and having merry a giggle out there. But anyway,
Graham. it's just like real life being in a pub at night, isn't it? There's you and I in a microphone, or our punters are sitting having a. It's great. It's great. It's the way it always was.
What's a pub? Anyway, so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll see you back here next week, same time, same place, and we're going to leave you with Boris Johnston's reaction to this new 10 years prison sentence for lying. Good night. That's all right for me, and I'll see you later. And Shaun, you want to say
bye?
I'm just running the outro now, Shaun. Sorry, I've got the two mics switched off. I'll disconnect in a wee sec. We had 50 people there. That was pretty good, eh? Can you hear me, Shaun? Oh, I'm looking at you on the bloody screen. Oh man.